Hello, welcome to my first ever Flosstube video. My name is Rosanna, and this video is going to be about everything in my life currently related to cross stitch. I've been cross stitching for about a year, and this holiday season I've just started watching some other stitchers' Flosstube channels, and I've just been amazed by all of the projects going on and so many patterns that I had no idea about these designers, and I've just had a lot of fun seeing this community on YouTube. So I decided I was gonna try my hand at making my own video. Like I said, I've been cross-stitching for a year, and that means I don't really have a ton of like finished things to show or anything like that. I have 2 projects that I finished in my first year of cross-stitching, and I will show those briefly. And then for the second part of my video, I wanted to talk about like my works in progress right now. And I am hoping, that just the sheer fact of making this video is gonna help motivate me to finish these current projects. And also, get me started on some new ones in the new year. So that's my rationale for making my very first Flosstube video. So why don't we just dive right in. I apologize for all of this sun. We're actually having some decent weather here today, so I'm in my sunroom, but that means I'm like kind of in these weird shadows, but I'm just gonna have to work with it for now. Okay, but first off, I will talk about the 2 projects that I did complete as a beginner cross-stitcher. I started cross-stitching in October of 2022, and the pattern I started with was the Celtic Christmas by Lavender and Lace. And let me just see if I can find a way to show this that's not gonna have like a ton of glare. I think that might be the best I'm gonna be able to do with all this sunlight, but this is the Celtic Christmas, and this is a whole series of ladies in these like frames, and they represent the seasons. So there's fall, spring, winter. This is the 5th one, the Christmas one. So this is what I started with as a beginner cross-stitcher. And it was definitely a huge challenge. I mean, this is a big pattern, first of all. It took me a long time. I didn't finish it until, I started it in October of 2022, and I didn't finish it until, I think it was the first week of May 2023. It took a long time. And part of the reason for that is that I actually worked directly from the original pattern itself. I didn't enlarge it at all, which I now realize was a huge mistake. I should have, either scanned it and enlarged it, or taken photos of it and enlarged it on my tablet. That would have made it way easier, and that is what I have been doing with later projects. But this one I was just working directly from the pattern itself, and it was really hard to see all those tiny, tiny symbols, and I think it just added to the total amount of time it took. That being said, I absolutely love the way it turned out. This frame is a vintage frame. It looks like wood, but it's not. It's actually, that cast plastic that's made to look like wood that was really popular like in the 70s. And I had found this frame at a thrift store even before I started cross-stitching. It had just been laying around my house, and I didn't really know what to do with it. But I knew that eventually it was gonna, come in handy. And I was just shocked that, my first cross-stitch fit it perfectly. And I actually did the framing myself. I watched a few videos about how to do that. And yeah, I'm really excited by how it turned out. But it was a huge challenge. And even like working on the black fabric, the black Ada, was, I almost like had bitten off more than I could chew with this. And now that I'm more experienced, I know like certain things I would do differently. But yeah, I'm thrilled with it, with the colors, and I changed her hair a little bit to be a little bit more like my hair. So, and yeah, I also learned how to add the beads with this project, because I had obviously never done that before either. And yeah, I guess the only other thing I'll say about it is like if you were to look like really close, you would see that my crosses aren't going in the same direction, because I didn't even really know that that was a thing. I had never heard, that you're supposed to do your X's all in the same direction to, give it a smoother finish. I didn't know that. So I was just making my crosses like random. So some are going one way and some are going the other way. And now with all my other cross stitches, I've learned that you're supposed to do it with them all going in the same direction. But I guess that just goes to show, like, I was a newbie, and but I will cherish this piece as my first cross stitch, and also just as a design that I think is incredible. Okay, so that was that one. I'm gonna take a little sip of my Diet Coke. So that was the Celtic Christmas. The other one that I finished in my first year of cross stitching was Bewitched. This is Bewitched by Shannon Christine Designs. And it's a little hard to see with this glare, but she's a witch against a moon, and the moon and the trees and the house, that's a pre-printed fabric, and it's called Haunted Moon Mansion and Bats, which I bought through Stitchery Express. And I wasn't the first person to pair this design with this fabric. I actually saw it. I saw a photo of someone else who did it on Instagram. And once I saw it, I just knew that like I really wanted to make one myself. And this was really fun to stitch. With this one, I was able to use Pattern Keeper, the program where you just load in the pattern and you can select stitches by symbol, and you can zoom in and do all those like things that make stitching a lot easier. So that definitely converted me to Pattern Keeper. whenever possible, I want to use Pattern Keeper. And I think that made this stitch go faster than the last one. This one's also smaller. The pattern itself of the woman of the witch is like a lot smaller than the Celtic Christmas. So this one took me from like May 2023 until I think the beginning of September. So I was working on it like all summer. And this one has beads and it sparkles, and I changed her hair again a little bit, and I changed the metallic threads because the original metallic threads were gold, and they just like are around the border of her dress and her hat and stuff. And they were originally supposed to be gold, but I had done a lot of gold in the Celtic Christmas, so I was kind of tired of it. And I had this really cool variegated metallic thread that had more like blues, purples, and it just seemed a little bit more like mysterious and witchy. So I decided to use that instead of the gold. But otherwise, I mean, this is exactly like the pattern. And I really love Shannon Christine's stuff. I have like a bunch more that I'm planning to do. And all of hers are like, you can download them and use them in Pattern Keeper, so they're really convenient. All right, so those were my only finishes ever, because I'm new at this relatively. So I would like to move on and just talk about my current projects. And I will start with, okay, I'll show you like what the pattern looks like. First of all, not the pattern itself, but just the image of this design. This is a French designer, Madame Lafay, up here. And they're based in France, but you can get their patterns on 123stitch.com in the US, which is what I did. And yeah, it's like, it's getting kind of washed out, but this is what it's supposed to look like. Noel, what is it? Noel en or. It just means Christmas in gold. And I just think this is so beautiful. I love this Nutcracker. It's like the best Nutcracker I've seen in a cross-stitch pattern so far. And I love the tree, and I really love that the Nutcracker is taller than the tree, and I just think it's just gorgeous. So, back in October, when I finished my witch, I was fully intending that I was just gonna like work on this one monogamously. I was committed to it, and I wanted to maybe even like finish it by Christmas. But I did run into some challenges, and I'll show you what I have done. Okay, so this is like what I have done on it, which isn't much. This is most of the body of the Nutcracker. And basically what happened was this fabric that I picked, which I have it written down, it's 18 count white opalescent Aida. I think that ended up being a little bit of a mistake. If I could do it again, I would probably pick 16, just because this fabric is really stiff, and it's been really difficult even just like getting my needle like through it. It just takes some more like elbow grease than is ideal. So yeah, I would be working on this, and then like my arm would be getting tired. Just like, I don't really feel like doing this right now. So that was the one thing. The other thing is that the pattern, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful pattern. I love the design. It is more of a challenge than what I'm used to. Like the colors, for instance, like up here in the, I forget what the term for this, like epaulette or something, like in his uniform on his shoulder here. You can see, you know, it's yellow, but there's like 7 different colors of yellow, like all in that one little spot. And this is true of like the entire Nutcracker, where you just have to be like constantly switching threads and stuff. So that was more of a challenge than I was like expecting. So I think my solution is just gonna be like, I'm gonna work on this slowly, and I'm not gonna pressure myself to like finish it super fast. And you know, maybe who knows, maybe 2 more Christmases will go by and this thing still isn't done, but eventually it'll get done. But yeah, you can see like in the mock-up here, just like the colors are really complicated. It's like an explosion of colors, which is one of the more challenging things about this pattern. Okay, so there's that one. So now I'll show you the one that I did end up, after I put away the Nutcracker one, I started a brand new start, and this was probably like mid-October, end of October. And yeah, I started it and I kind of ran with it. These are, they're called Santas of Fable and Fantasy. And there's going to be a total of 5, so I'm sort of in the getting towards the end of the 4th one, and then there's going to be one more over here. There's also a really elaborate border. I'll actually show you the picture of, you know, the finished thing. But yeah, so this one has a ways to go, but it's just been going like a lot faster than the Nutcracker one. One reason is because I chose, what fabric is this? 28 count new khaki Lugana. And I love this fabric. It's really soft. It's easy to work with. It's been going a lot faster than the Nutcracker, like purely because of the fabric alone. So I would definitely, you know, work with this fabric again. The other thing is the colors. You can see it's very colorful, but it has more like blocks of color. So you'll be using a lot of like the same shade, maybe for like 5-10 minutes at a stretch, and then you change your needle or whatever. So that's another reason why this is just going faster, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. I think these Santas are just adorable. And yeah, let me show you what the end product is supposed to look like. So there's a little bit of glare, but you get a sense of it. These Santas, and there's even like a little explanation in the magazine, like what these Santas are supposed to represent. I guess they're supposed to be like different iterations of Santa throughout history, and I have no idea how accurate it actually is, but it's just really cute. And yeah, there's even like a patriotic Santa over on the edge, and that's the one I haven't started yet. But you can see, yeah, there's a pretty elaborate border with the alphabet, like making it more like a sampler. So this pattern is in the November-December 1991 edition of Cross Stitch and Country Crafts magazine. And so what happened? I mean, the less said about my eBay addiction, maybe the better. But this was maybe 6-8 months ago. I was on eBay, and someone was selling a lot of these magazines, just as one big lot. And I won it. There was like a little bit of a bidding war, but I was the winner. And so I can show you all of my cross-stitch and country crafts magazine. This is half the stack. And here's the other half of the stack. It's just like I don't know what I would ever do with this amount of patterns. Like what? But it was really fun looking through them all. I do think the Santas of Fable and Fantasy was my favorite pattern that I saw in the magazines, but I also love all of these stockings, and there's a bunch of them. A bunch of different kinds of stockings that were, you know, released, I guess, like on a yearly basis back in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, speaking of which, I don't, like, I have no idea how the stitchers of the 80s and 90s worked from these magazines, because the symbols are so tiny. They're so tiny. You know, they must have enlarged them at like a Xerox place or something back then, because I mean, if you were trying to work directly from the magazine, you would just go blind. I've scanned the Santas of Fables of Fantasy, and I've been working from my tablet with them, which makes it way easier. Okay, so yeah, that is this one, which I'm hoping that this one I will have done, you know, maybe by end of January, which I think is a reasonable goal, because I've been working on it pretty religiously, I guess. And then the only other, like, partial work in progress I have is just, like, this little thing. And I'm actually thinking I might start it over. I don't love... Well, let me show you what it's supposed to look like, first of all. This is another Shannon Christine one. And she has these series of snow globes. And they're really cute. I bought 3 of them, the patterns. And 2 of them have these cute little deer. And then the other one I bought has like these 3 tiny red ornaments in the snow globe. And they are just adorable. So I'll just show you like the little cover page mock-up of the pattern so you can see like what it looks like. So that's Shannon Christine deer snow globe. And yeah, it's supposed to look, sorry about the glare, but it's supposed to look like this with like a jar and a tree and a little deer, and like the bottom is embellished with all these beautiful flowers. And there's a lot of beads in this pattern. I've seen it finished on Instagram, some photos, and it looks gorgeous. So yeah, I would like to do all 3 of the snow globes. I don't think I'm going to continue with this fabric though, because the white really isn't showing up very well, and you know, it's a snow globe, so there's like a lot of snow. And I would prefer the white of the snow to actually pop out a little bit more. So I'm thinking I might switch to like even like a light blue or something like that. Yeah, I didn't get very far with it, thankfully, because I knew kind of from the start that I wasn't thrilled with the fabric. However, this was my first time working with a linen. So this is a 36 count linen, which the squares are really tiny, and I can definitely see the challenge of working with this type of fabric, but I'm excited to work with linen in the future, because even though I didn't like the shade of this, I got the hang of it. So that's exciting. All right, so those were my works in progress. Like I said, there's only 3. One thing, watching the other Flosstube channels is just seeing a lot of people who do tiny projects, like in addition to the really big ones. And I definitely want to start doing that. Just picking like 3 or 4 much more manageable sized, like small projects, and then finishing them like in a fun way. Because I've seen like a lot of people making them into pillows, which I like, these cute little like rustic looking pillows, which I love. And then they're arranging them in a bowl or a basket or something and using them as like holiday decor. That is the kind of thing I would really like to start doing in the new year, in addition to like continuing maybe doing like one big project at a time. Because I haven't really been doing any little projects. I've been a little bit too ambitious with the things I'm stitching. So that is one like takeaway from watching all the stitchers on Flosstube, is just the number of smaller projects they have going on, just, you know, to have a break from the really big complex ones. So that will be a project for after the holidays. All right, and then the last part of my video, I would just like to talk a little bit more about my plans for the coming year, and this is more just to like give me motivation. It's like if I put it out in the world, then I feel like I'll have more motivation to actually do it. But so to start with, let's see. I guess what I'll start with is one of my goals. A few months ago, well, this was maybe like 6-8 months ago, I went to an actual physical needlework shop, and it's up in Pittsford, New York. It's called Hobby House Needleworks, and like this store was amazing. I walked in, I felt like I was just like walking into this magical world, because the store was just full of like these beautiful samplers all over the walls, and they were like huge and they were beautiful, and the store itself was just like very charming, very, very cute store. And I picked up 3 patterns while I was there, none of which I've started. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do all of them in the coming year, but I would like to start with this one, which is called Moonlight Sampler by the Blue Flower. There's like some glare, but you can see it is a poem, or part of a poem by, let's see, I've written down. Oh wait, actually forgot to write her name down. Anyway, it's a poem called The Old Astronomer from this book of poetry, Twilight Hours, from 1868. And it's a woman author, and I'm not sure why I didn't write it down. I thought I did. But anyway, the poem, though my soul may set in darkness, it will rise in perfect light. I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night. And then the pattern is just all of these little nocturnal creatures. Isn't that amazing? There's like a Luna moth and an owl, and like, I don't know if that might be a skunk there, but there's insects, and just like all of these creatures that you see at night. And I just think it is so cute. So I have taken the step of ordering fabric for this pattern. Finally, I ordered it like 2 nights ago. And this is one I would like to start as soon as I'm done with the Santas of Fable and Fantasy. And I am going to be ambitious about it because I ordered a 40 count linen, which I haven't used before. Like I said, with the deer, I used 36 count linen. But I want to make it, you know, look as much like the picture as I can. So I tried to find like a similar shade of fabric, and I'm going to be doing like the 1 strand thing on 40 count linen, which I haven't tried before, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and the other 2 I got from the Hobby House Needleworks shop. One of them is another design by the Blue Flower. The Blue Flower just has all these like really cute, amazing patterns. And you can like look close at this one. It is called a Greyhound Year. And it's a calendar like with all of these greyhounds. And they're all wearing like different clothes based on the month. And I don't know, I just can't get over how adorable this is. Like, in March, he's wearing a raincoat. Like, how cute is that? So I would like to get this one started at some point, but I'm gonna focus on the one with the nocturnal animals first. The other one that I purchased when I went to that shop is Happy Christmas by Kathy Barrick. And this is another one, interestingly, it's also kind of like a snow globe up here. I don't know why I kind of gravitate towards the snow globes. But I also love Christmas trees, and we got some like really cute deer down here. And this one looks like it's going to take a long time because look at all these snowflakes in the background. Like, this is pretty complicated. So this one, I don't know. I'm not sure when I would start this one. We'll see how it goes with like some of the other stuff I've got lined up. And then, okay, so this pattern is another like ambition of mine for the coming year, hopefully. It's called the Sanctuary by the drawn thread. You can look a little closer at that. It's like a garden. It also has some like really cute animals and insects. But this is an older pattern. I actually found this at a thrift store. Not only did I find the pattern, but it also came with, it's like I feel like I need a drum roll for this, but it came with silk floss. Like it's a kit that somebody never did. And they're not cotton. And I didn't really know this until recently because again, I'm like brand new at cross stitching. But silk threads, like one skein of silk thread costs like $6 in comparison to a skein of cotton thread, which costs like 50 cents. So I found this entire kit for $4 at a thrift store, and initially I was kind of like, maybe I'll just like use the silks for some other project. But the more I thought about it, I was like, you know, move my collection of magazines out of the way. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, why don't I just do this beautiful sampler? I mean, it's gorgeous. It has part of a poem running around the edge here, and it is a poem from, it's a couple of lines from a poem called The Garden by Andrew Marvell. And it was published posthumously in 1681. So it's a 17th century poem. And I spent many, many years of my life studying English literature, which is a tale for another day. But the more I thought about it, I was like, you know, I like Andrew Marvell, and I would not mind having like a little bit of his poetry on the wall. Like, that would not bother me in the least. And I just think all these little animals and the colors are so pretty. So I've decided that I would just like to stitch it as intended and use the silks that came with it. You know, whoever was the original owner, they started it a little bit here in the middle. So I don't know if I would use this fabric or maybe just start over on a different fabric, but that's another like big project undertaking I would like to do in 2024. The only other thing I'll say about this pattern, I like opened, it has the pattern itself, and then it has this like little booklet. And I opened the booklet up, and it's like 2 full pages of diagrams. Diagrams of how to do specialty stitches for this pattern. And I looked at it and my jaw dropped. I was like, what? Like, see, it just goes to show like what a newbie I am. Like, I didn't know that this was a thing. It's like, I'm someone who didn't know that up until like maybe 6 months ago that all your crosses are supposed to go the same direction. So like, the idea of like learning whatever this is, like 20 different stitches to make the bugs and stuff was really kind of like mind-blowing. But I think I'm up to the challenge, and if I don't want to do the specialty stitches, I could always just like stitch it with regular crosses. But so that is my other like big ambitious goal for the coming year. All right, well, I think those were like the things I wanted to cover in my very first inaugural Flosstube video. And I don't expect to have like a lot of progress on any of these for a while. My hope is that I will have the Santas of Fable and Fantasy finished, hopefully by January. And at that point, you know, I might do another video just to like show off the finished piece, and maybe if I like do a couple of small new starts, because that is another one of my objectives, is to just like also do some small things in addition to like all these like ambitious projects. And who knows, maybe I'll pick another like pattern from one of my like 75 cross stitch magazines. You never know what's gonna happen. All right. Well, I guess that is about it. Thank you so much if you took the time to watch any of this video. I really appreciate it. And I will try to make another video within the next like 2, 3 months. Well, let's say like 2 months. All right. Bye.